Hello Year 9s, this is Naplan Numeracy mini test at intermediate level. After this, the next video will be advanced level. So a recipe for 1 dozen scones uses 3/4 of a cup of water. How many cups of water would be needed to make 2 dozen scones? Well, that would be twice as much. Well, it's definitely not 3/4. So we could just cross that one out. So twice as much means that we could do it two ways. We could either say it's 2 lots of 3/4, which means that 2 times 3 is 6 and we'll leave 4. Or we could have said, what about what's 3/4 plus another 3/4, and that would also be 6/4. Either way, whichever way is more comfortable for you. Now we need to change this kind of a fraction we call an improper fraction. Okay, you might say both of these could be cancelled down to 3 on 2, correct? So let's make this to be 3 on 2. And also that 3 on 2. It's the same problem here. Okay, so now we need to find out 3 on 2. Is it more like 1 1/4, 1 1/2, or 1 3/4? We need to change this improper fraction into a mixed fraction. So we ask ourselves, how many times does 2 go into 3? So 3 could be made into 2 plus 1 over 2, which means that we've got 2 over 2, and we also have a half. Now 2 over 2 is just 1 1/2, and our answer will be C. So what is the value of 4 plus 12 over 2 times 4? Well, you know, there's no tricks in here. You just need to add everything that is in the numerator, everything that's upstairs, and you need to do what you're told in the denominator, which is multiply those two numbers. That's all there is to it. So 4 plus 12 is just going to be 16, and 2 times 4 is going to be 8. And if we cancel down the 16 and the 8 divided by 2, we'll just get 2 over 1, which just simply is 2. So we'll just highlight the answer 2. So Kieran bought 2 loaves of bread and a $3 bottle of juice. So I'll put down that bottle of juice costs $3. And of course you won't get the pictures in. I've just put them in for illustration. And now we know that the 2 loaves and the bottle of juice cost him $11. Well, in that case, the 2 loaves of bread would be 11, take away 3, which would be 8. That's for 2 loaves. And for 1 loaf, we would just pay $4. So we know now that each loaf is $4. So now that we know what the loaves cost and what the juice costs, what would 3 loaves of bread and 2 bottles of juice cost? So 3 loaves, each one at $4. So 3 loaves times $4 plus 2 bottles, which are $3 each. So 3 times 4 plus 2 times 3, and that'll be equal to 12 plus 6, which is altogether $18. And we do have that $18 in our answer. It's D. Here we want to find a number which is exactly halfway between 1.84 and 3.46. In other words, we're looking for the average. The word here is average. And so the average is always found by adding the two numbers together 1.84 plus 3.46, and then we need to divide it by 2. So adding together the numbers separately, working to the side, I'll add 1.84 and I'll add to it 3.46. Remembering that the decimal places must go one on top of each other. 6 and 4 is 10, 1 over. 5 and 8 is 13. Make sure you put the dot in here, the decimal point, and 1 over. And 1, 3 and 1 is 5. So we get 530. And so this is going to be 5.30, and we're dividing it by 2. And again, we don't have the calculator, so we'll have to do that long division. Put 530, and we divide it into 2. 2 into 5 goes twice, and 1 over. So because the decimal point is here, we must also put the decimal point up there. 2 into 13 goes 6 times, and 1 over. Now 2 into 10 goes 5 times, and we get 2.65. So the answer is 2.65. And we have to write that answer at the top, 2.65. So 3 take away 1 1/5. Okay, the easiest way to do that would be to take away from 3 just 1. That would mean that I have 2. But now I need to also take away 1/5 from it. So that would be equal to 1 4/5. Now the other way that you would want to do it, if you don't understand this, is to change them all into fractions. So 3 becomes 3 over 1, and 1 1/5 means that you need to change it into a improper fraction. And I said before, you multiply the 1 times 5. We did this before in another test, and then add to it the 1. Okay, so that would be 6 over 5. Now we need to change them to the same denominator. If we want to change it to the same denominator, then we need to multiply this one by 5 and also this side by 5. So now we will have 15 over 5, take away 6 over 5. So we are able now to do the subtraction. 15 take away 6 is 9 over 5. And when you get to this, you'll find that there is no answer 9 over 5 in our answers. They're all mixed fractions. So we now need to change 9 over 5 into a mixed fraction. So how many times does 5 go into 9? It goes into 9 ones and 4/5. And we get the same answer. So we just need to highlight what be 1 4/5. In this question, we've got 20 multiplied by a square equals 12. This time I don't like using squares anymore, so instead of using a square, I'm going to multiply it by a, say for instance, an x value. Remember that we can always substitute x if we don't know what it is. So that is equal to 12. In order to remove the 20 next to the x, we can divide it by 20 because it was multiplied with x. So we'll divide it. We divide it on one side, we need to also divide it on the other side. that means that that 20 and that 20 crosses off, and you are left with an x that you know what it is going to be. It's 12 over 20. All right, that's not in there, is it? We only have 3/5, 5/3, 3/4, and 4/3. That's okay because we can simplify 12 over 20. Let's divide it by 2 first of all. Divide the top by 2 and divide the bottom by 2. And we're left with 6 over 10. All right, we can still divide it once again by 2. And we can divide the bottom by 2 again. And you're left with 3/5. Now 3/5 is there. So we are ready to highlight 3/5 as A. And that's the end of intermediate questions. Let's get now into some advanced questions. They'll come into the next video. So if you haven't subscribed, then please do.